Let's try that again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Bright Spots. My name is Laurie Labishak, and I am your happiness ambassador, here to bring you some joy and show you a bright spot in our community. So, as you know, this show began at the beginning of the pandemic when we were having the stay-at-home order. Well, things have kind of gone like this, haven't they? They've gotten better. They've gotten a little worse. They've gotten better. Things open up. Things close back up. And listening to our governor here in Ohio talk today, it sounds like our cases are ticking back up again. So I just want to encourage you to please wear your mask when you're out in public, to protect those around you, to protect the most vulnerable. We're all tired of wearing the masks, but science does prove that they really do work. So I'm just reminding you, please wear your masks to protect those around you. And, it was a beautiful day today. I think we are having Indian summer, right? 81 degrees today. I love fall. I love the colors, and I don't mind the warm temperatures. I think I would rather see them down in the 70s, but I love the milder temperatures, and I love the colors. So this evening we have some wonderful guests here with us, and this is a first time for the for Bright Spots. We actually have 3 guests on one screen. That's never been done before. So we're going to see how that works. But I think you're going to love these ladies. They are all 3 just wonderful ladies, and I'm excited to bring them onto the screen. So let me tell you just a little bit about Stonerise at Home and the young ladies that are going to be our guests tonight. We have Daniele Kendjorsky, who is the volunteer coordinator, Angie Corbett, who is a licensed social worker for Stonerise at Home Hospice, and Michelle Reven, who is Stonerise at Hospice bereavement coordinator and certified dementia practitioner. Now, all 3 of these young ladies came to hospice down a similar path, but a little bit different. And I'm so excited for the 3 of them to share with you their story and how they were brought to hospice, and also talk about the great work that they're doing. So without further ado, please welcome to the Bright Spot studio 3 bright spots from Stonerise Hospice: Angie, Michelle, and Daniele. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Laurie.
Welcome. And so maybe tell the folks at home which one of you is who. Can you just raise your hand and tell them your name?
I'm Daniele.
I'm Michelle Reven.
And I'm Angie Corbett.
All right, so let's start with your path to hospice. Danielle, tell us how you got to hospice.
Okay. I was in my last semester at Belmont College. I had to do a practicum. I needed volunteer hours, and I chose Stonerise Hospice to do my practicum. And shortly into the volunteer program, a job opening came available, and they offered it to me, and I accepted. It just felt like the perfect fit.
All right, and Michelle?
Well, I had experienced some personal loss. My mom and my dad and my first husband had passed away, and I actually went to hospice to become a volunteer. And when I came to hospice to volunteer, they actually told me of a job position that was also open. So I filled out 2 applications, one to become a volunteer and then one for the paid position. And lo and behold, they offered me the paid position. And I told them later I would have worked there for free because I wanted to be a volunteer, because I wanted to give back after losing other people in my life. I wanted to be able to visit people that were ill.
And Angie?
So I came into it similar to Daniele. I first met Michelle when I was doing an internship at college. Well, I should back up. I was going to do an internship, and I met her, and she had presented to our class, and it really touched my heart the way she had presented hospice. And after I came and volunteered, I knew that that was what I was supposed to be doing. So fast forward, that was about 6 years ago I volunteered, and then I got through school and I got licensed, and then I ran into her and they had a job opening, and it just all kind of fell into place. So it kind of came full circle for me.
That's great. So I love that basically all three of you started as volunteers or interns, and then it became a job. I think so often when high school kids and young folks are thinking about volunteering, you know, they would rather go and work at McDonald's or Target or something. And I don't think they realize that coming and volunteering for a mission-driven organization like a hospice really can parlay itself into a career, a very meaningful, wonderful career. So, as you know, this show was born out of the pandemic. So I'd just like to talk a little bit with my guests about how has the pandemic affected you personally and professionally? Have you changed things in your life because of the pandemic? If so, what has that been? And how has work changed for you because of the pandemic?
Well, I'll start. Personally, it changed because John and I were supposed to be married June 13th. And we had to cancel because of the COVID restrictions. But luckily, we got to be married last weekend. And professionally, it hurts that I can't go in and see my regular patients. We have a patient at Shadyside who is the biggest Shadyside high school football fan there is. And I miss sharing the scores, and I know he's going to be excited this weekend to watch Ohio State on TV, and it's tough not being able to go in and see him anymore.
And I think professionally for us, we're still able to visit patients in their home if they want our visits. It's the long-term care facilities that they're only allowing the nurses and the aides to come in, and it's difficult when we're used to providing wraparound care for all of our patients. Some of the disciplines aren't able to visit or to be, to be able to go in to the nursing homes to be able to provide that care that we're used to giving for, of course, the resident safety and probably for ours. But it is sad for us because we are used to providing that care.
Right. I actually came in during the pandemic right after. So there's some patients that I have not even had the opportunity to meet because they live in the long-term facilities, and they're only permitting the nursing staff to go in. So we actually have patients that I can't even offer any service to, and it's very disheartening. And you know, those people have needs too as well. And I think that they're probably really suffering in it. And so it's hard for the families. It's hard for us as the professionals, and it's hard for the patients as well.
So I know that some elder care communities have transitioned visiting to virtual. And there have been, like greeting card campaigns to send cards and gifts to the elders in the elder care communities to kind of remind them that they haven't been forgotten, that folks are still out here and, still praying for them, still loving on them. Have you guys done anything like that with your hospice patients? Have you transitioned any of the volunteer work to virtual, to where you could have virtual visits or anything along those lines?
We have started, we've actually throughout the entire pandemic, we have been sending cards, and we also make up treat bags. Our staff will make cards. We'll have some community members make cards, or volunteers make cards. And we've actually sent out hundreds and hundreds of cards to long-term care facilities. And we had our chaplains and John, our volunteer, Danielle's husband now, come out and play keyboard. And we met in the parking lot at a nursing home, and we actually provided fellowship. We prayed and sang with the residents, and they were in the windows and also on the porch. So we're able to provide support for them in that way, because some of them hadn't had fellowship in a while, like live fellowship with the minister. So we had him on microphone and he sang and John sang, and we provided fellowship that way, which was, I think they enjoyed it a lot, but I don't know if they knew how much we enjoyed it and how much it touched our heart to be there with them all, even if it was through a window.
Oh, that's fabulous. I was hoping you would tell that story. That's a great story. And, we've seen stories like that all across the Ohio Valley, and those truly are the bright spots throughout this pandemic and these crazy times. And I really try to stay away from cliches, but these really are crazy times that we're living in. Things are kind of nuts, but there are bright spots, and that is definitely one of those bright spots. So, Michelle, you mentioned to me that Stonerise Hospice, so Stonerise Healthcare has elder care communities, but you're the only hospice for Stonerise. Is that correct?
Correct. Stonerise has, I think it's 19 now. We just acquired 2 more in the state of West Virginia, 19 long-term care facilities. And they also provide home health in the state of West Virginia, and we also provide home health services in Ohio and hospice in the state of Ohio.
So for the people that are watching, tell us, what is hospice?
Hospice care is a type of health care that we provide services for individuals that have life-limiting illnesses. And we provide care to people that, when curative medicine is no longer successful and treatment is actually hurting and not helping anymore. And we provide that care, as I said before, wraparound care. We have 7 disciplines in our interdisciplinary team. We have a medical director, which is currently Dr. Evick. But a hospice patient can also have their own family doctor. So they can work with a medical director or a medical director and their own family doctor. And we have registered nurses that provide care. They actually talk with the doctor. They come out and do the assessment. They provide education for the caregivers and the patient about the disease process. They do symptom management. And we have nurses aides that come out and provide personal care. We have Angie, the social worker, that will provide community resources and support. Or if anybody had questions about advanced directives, we have chaplains available that will provide spiritual support. Then Daniele, our volunteer coordinator, heads up all of the volunteers. And I'm the bereavement coordinator, and we provide support for pre and early bereavement, but we also provide support after a patient passes to the family for 13 months. And I think I covered everybody. Yes, I think I did.
So I love that it is a team approach. And I'm sure that some of the folks watching may be wondering, is hospice covered by insurance, or how is it paid for?
Hospice is covered by Medicare, Medicaid, private insurances. They also have VA benefits. And what a lot of people don't realize is that when you have the hospice benefit, you're not going to have any deductibles. You're not going to have any out-of-pocket costs. It's completely 100% paid for. And able to have the care at home, it actually saves the insurance companies money, because they're not, sending you to more treatments and things like that. So it's completely covered. Even things like wheelchairs, hospital beds, incontinence supplies, your medications that are related to your medical diagnosis, all of those things are covered 100%. We take care of all of those things.
Well, that's good to know. And are there special considerations for veterans as far as hospice goes?
For veterans, there are a lot of different benefits, such as for things like burials, help with funeral planning. They have certain amounts that they can qualify for depending on what branch and things. So I definitely like to get with those that are veterans and see what kind of extra benefits that they may qualify for.
And we as a hospice are part of the We Honor Veterans program, which is a national program that honors veterans and recognizes veterans' needs. And we're sent for educational purposes too, about different eras, different disease processes, post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that are specific to veterans.
So is there a particular diagnosis that would qualify someone for hospice care?
I think everybody, the first time you hear diagnosis, you just automatically think cancer, but we also treat for heart disease such as coronary artery disease, congestive heart failure, lung disease like COPD, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's patients, AIDS, ALS, anybody who has a sudden decline and is unexplained in their health, they're acceptable. And we've also treated patients with life-limiting illnesses who have tested positive for COVID.
Okay. And so if I know someone who needs hospice, someone I love, or perhaps I need hospice for myself, how do I go about obtaining hospice care?
I would say the best way is just to reach out to the agency. They have free consultations. Somebody will come out and they'll explain. They'll see if this is the right service for you. If it's not, certainly we'll guide you in the right direction. You could talk with your family doctor or whatever physician that you happen to be seeing. But I think that the best way, if you feel that you have come to the end of all options, it would just be best to reach out and talk to somebody from the hospice staff. They'll come out and answer all your questions.
I think one question people often have is, if I sign up for hospice and I'm receiving hospice care at home, can I still go to the hospital if I get sick?
You can still go to the hospital, but if you are admitted, we're going to have to sign a revocation form because of insurance purposes. It's considered double billing and fraud. So we'll have to revoke while admitted, but when you come out, we can recert again.
Okay. So do people ever graduate from hospice, or is it only for terminal illness?
No, that's the happy part. We've had patients who we've had for a long time. And once our nurses get in there and they're able to spend time with the patient and get their symptoms and pain managed, the patient seems to do better. They don't decline any longer. And sadly, they don't meet requirements and we have to send them off and they graduate.
Well, that is a happy moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So how long can someone stay on hospice? Is there a time period?
There is no time period. We've seen with our patients, they do better the longer we have them. Typically, if we can get them longer than 3 or 4 days, they do better with us. But as long as they keep meeting requirements required by Medicare, Medicaid, they can remain on hospice care.
And I think
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think sometimes it's a misconception. People come to hospice within days or weeks of passing. And I think that, it can be much longer than that, depending on how their disease progresses. My own personal experience, my dad was on hospice for almost 3 years. As his disease progressed very slowly and he continued to decline, he was still eligible for hospice services.
Okay. So I have personally experienced hospice in my family as well. So I know the value of having hospice caregivers available. Are they available only during certain hours, or can I get help anytime I need it?
So we're not going to be in the home 24/7, obviously, because what we want to do is we want you to have the support. We will make sure that your family is able. Most people have a caretaker, and we also have a lot of staff that has a lot of services. 24/7. We have a call line. If there's an emergency, you just call the phone. If somebody needs to come out, it's an emergency, they will. If they just need some advice, that they can walk them through any situation. So absolutely that we're in touch at any time that they may need us. But really, we just want to put those support services in place so that the person can be at home, because that's the ultimate goal, is to be, home and surrounded by family and have your needs met and taken care of the best.
So if I'm at home on hospice, does that mean I can't go out and have dinner, or I can't leave the house? Is it kind of, once you sign up for hospice, you can't leave the house?
No, absolutely not. When you are on a hospice, you're still able to go wherever you are able to go. We actually had a lady that was on hospice that her son decided to rent a Winnebago, and they actually traveled across country. And what we did for her was we had a copy of their itinerary. We contacted other hospices. So she had hospice available throughout throughout the entire country as she traveled, because we knew which city or state she would be in throughout her trip based on their itinerary. So she actually went all the way out west to the Grand Canyon and all the way back with hospice care. And when she returned, she came back to us, and she passed away a few months later, but she actually traveled cross country while she was a hospice patient.
Oh, how beautiful. That's a beautiful story. So folks may be interested to know, will their pain and symptoms be managed while they're at home? Can they still get pain medications and comfort measures?
Absolutely. Our number one goal is to make sure that the patient is comfortable. And, there's a myth that hospice just comes in and then, they just give a lot of drugs and there's not a good quality of life. And that is absolutely not true. We understand that this is the end of life, but what we want to do is we want this to be quality. We want you to have the absolute best end of life experience that you can have. So, we're not just going to come in and we'll have the nurse will come in, we'll have a care plan, there'll be a treatment plan, and the patient and the caregivers will have an opportunity to speak, whatever they feel. Yeah, they're in charge. They're always in charge. That's the perfect way to put it. They're the drivers of the boat. We're just there to, help them get down the river, but ultimately they're always in charge. So absolutely, we'll come up with a plan of care and make sure that they're absolutely comfortable in every way.
So folks, if you are just tuning in, this is Bright Spots, and our guests this evening are from Stonerise Hospice. We have Angie, a social worker, Michelle, who is a bereavement counselor and dementia practitioner, and Danielle, the volunteer coordinator. If you have questions or would like information about Stonerise Hospice, please call 740-699-2300. So ladies, there are a lot of different hospices out there in our community. Are all hospice services the same?
No, I was always under the misconception, and even when my own loved ones became eligible for hospice, sometimes they'll tell you that your loved one is now ready for hospice, but you don't always realize that there's several companies that offer those services. When my mom became eligible for hospice, they just said it's time for hospice. I didn't realize there was different companies to choose from. But later with my dad, I realized there was companies that you could choose from. After several years had passed and I became more educated, at that time I wasn't working for hospice. But at one time, I was dissatisfied with the hospice services that were provided to my dad. And at that time, I was more educated and I realized that I could switch companies. So I think the most important thing is for everyone to realize that they have a choice. And it's like anything else. If you're not satisfied, you can make a different choice. Or you can also ask your physician, if they tell you it's time for hospice or a loved one, ask them, say what hospice companies are available, and then make your choice based on, on your own decision and not based on what they just tell you to take.
Okay. So Michelle, when we spoke earlier this week, you mentioned a program that Stonerise Hospice has. I believe it was Whispered Wishes. Is that what it was?
No, we do not have Whispered Wishes. But I am familiar with the program, I think.
Okay.
About Whispered Wishes, but we do not have that.
Okay. So you talked about the woman who went across the country in the Winnebago. When you are working with your patients, is there any program that you offer that allows for end-of-life wishes or special circumstances to happen?
We don't have an official program, but we are always willing to help. And I will share with you a story. We had a veteran a few years ago that was a Vietnam veteran, and one of the things that he really wanted to do, he had searched for 47 years. He had served during the Vietnam War, and his friend that served with him, they became very close friends, had passed away right next to him. He had been shot and died. So after the war ended, he decided he wanted to find that soldier's family and be reunited with the family to let them know how much that gentleman meant to him. So when he became our hospice patient, he asked us to assist with that. So what we did was we helped and searched and called, and we called funeral homes and cemeteries and veterans associations, and helped this gentleman locate his friend's family that he had searched for 47 years. And it was actually Memorial Day. We actually appeared on the news together for their reunion. He got to meet the two sisters of his friend. And he actually got to meet them via phone. They got to have a telephone conversation, and they got to talk. And he actually, our veteran, got to explain to the two sisters how their brother had passed away. They didn't know. So he was able to reassure them that he was not in any pain and did not suffer. And they got to see their brother on the news because we held up his picture, and my veteran got to appear on the news and was actually recognized, I think, for the first time in his life for the time that he served in Vietnam. He actually did 2 tours. So this was recognition for him, and it was also a way for us to thank him. So actually, he appeared on the news on Memorial Day, and 16 days later, sadly, he passed, but he's actually passed with some closure. And the sisters and I are still in touch with each other. They still contact me. But if we meet a hospice patient that would like us to help them do something, we are always willing and able to do whatever we can to help them before they do pass away, if there's some closure that we can help give them.
Wonderful. You know, that's near and dear to my heart after working for Second Wind Dreams for many years and working with dreams with our elders in nursing homes. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I'm thrilled that that is something that you do with your patients as well. So finally, I'd love for each of you to share a memorable moment from your time working in hospice. So could you take turns and share a memorable story?
I'll start. Mine was with my very first patient that I fell in love with. We will name her Irma just for the sake of naming her. There was something special about her. I can still see the little twinkle in her eye, but she always would talk about bacon gravy. She made bacon gravy back in her day, and Michelle would save her Sunday morning bacon grease for me. And it was a good day for Irma. She was able to get up in her wheelchair, and she was in an apartment, and her kitchen was so tiny, but she was bound and determined to get that wheelchair in there. And I wasn't whisking it fast enough, or there wasn't enough water. And so we made bacon gravy, and she insisted I take it home to my boys. And my next visit, she said, "How did the boys like it?" I didn't have the heart to tell her that the bacon gravy wasn't any good, but my dogs loved it. But it made her day, and she was so excited to share that memory with me.
Probably, I must say, working for hospice, and I've worked for hospice for several years, it is an honor, because we hear a lot of times, how can you work for hospice? Aren't you sad all the time? We actually feel very blessed. We feel very honored to work for hospice. And each and every patient that I've met and their families have touched my life in some way. I think maybe too, I spoke of the veteran and helping him reunite with that family was definitely special. But there was another veteran that was a World War II vet. And he was a tail gunner during World War II. And he was a wonderful storyteller. And he would show us his pictures that he had from the war. So we decided, a volunteer helped. And they would go out and visit, a volunteer and the chaplain, and we started to record his stories. And another volunteer that was tech savvy assisted me with putting his voice, his stories with his photos, and we were able to burn that on a CD and present that to his family. And it was a wonderful experience, and it's actually a wonderful tribute to him and the time that he served. And now he can share that with his family forever, now even after he's gone. But that's very memorable to me. Angie?
And I think I like to think back when I first was volunteering, and just because this particular person really changed my whole perspective on life. But it was a gentleman that had recently been diagnosed with ALS, and I seen the decline from the beginning of the disease all the way until the end. And just to be able to be a part of that journey, to be able to support and be there for his family, and watch how he just courageously just took one day at a time, and was never had a bad thing to say, was always pleasant, was always smiling, was always grateful, and all the while going through the absolute worst possible disease and that I've ever seen, in my opinion. And it changed my whole perspective on life and what's important. And so my love for hospice is just, I feel like I was able to make a difference, because a lot of times when people are having these life-limiting situations, people don't know what to say to you. People will shy away. They'll, they don't come around, and it's not really because they don't care. It's just because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. What do you say to somebody? And you don't always have to know the perfect thing to say, but just being there is everything. And so definitely a wonderful experience for me.
It's always wonderful to hear the stories about how individuals have impacted others through the work that they do. And I think there's one constant theme with hospice care and with Stonerise Hospice, and that is that hospice isn't just for the patient. It's support for the family, support for the caregivers. And I know in our family, that was even more impactful. Just having hospice available to call, when you didn't know what to say and you didn't know what to do. So on behalf of everyone watching and those of us that have experienced hospice care, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do, for the love that you share with the patients that you care for, because it's not easy work. It's great to be able to see the bright spot amidst the pain. And I think that's what you are. You are the bright spots amidst the pain. So thank you so much. Is there anything that we have not covered, ladies?
No, I think that when you talk about the care that we provide for the patients and the families, anytime we see a family, even though it may have been years since their loved one has passed, we feel drawn to that family. We feel honored. And some days I know I can speak for myself. I feel so blessed to have this job and to have the honor to work for hospice and to work for Stonerise. It's just a wonderful, wonderful job. It doesn't feel like a job. It absolutely does not. It feels like I'm blessed every day, and I'm honored to be here.
That this patient or family is allowing us to come in and share this, it's a hard time. It's personal. It's so many feelings, and for them to let us in and build those relationships and help through that process it's an honor for us. It really is.
So again, folks, if you're watching this later and not on the live broadcast, or you're here on the live broadcast, if you'd like more information about Stonerise at Home, please visit stonerisehealthcare.com, or you can call 740-699-2300. And they also have a Facebook page. If you'd like to follow their activities on Facebook, it's at Stonerise at Home on Facebook. So I would like to thank you again, Angie, Michelle, and Danielle, for joining me this evening for a special Thursday evening episode of Bright Spots. And thank you for allowing me to move it to Thursday because of my crazy schedule. And I hope you'll come back and talk with us again, maybe in the new year.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Laura.
having us.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So for everyone watching, this is Laurie Labishak, your inspirationista. That's good. Sherry McCutcheon, I just stole your line. Your happiness ambassador. We're all the same, right? We're all bringing joy into your life. As your happiness ambassador, I wish you the best week ever. I hope you have a wonderful time this week, enjoying the mild weather. Join me next week for another episode of Bright Spots. Elizabeth Claymon from North Carolina is my guest, and I think you're going to love her. She's got some great things to share with us. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week. See you.